Hey guys, thanks for watching another one of my vlogs. After the last one I got a lot of requests asking me about my diet. With diet there's a lot of things to cover, so this very first one I want to start at the tip of the iceberg, the fundamental change I made to my diet that improved my quality of life dramatically, and that is to stop eating meat. Once I'd made the conscious decision to stop eating meat, I did a lot of research into it, checking that it was the right thing to do. Especially as an athlete, I think diet is a very important thing. It only led me to discover more and more reasons why keeping meat out of my diet was the right thing to do. So in this vlog I'll cover a little bit of the science and a little bit of the benefits I've felt, but I'll do a lot more in depth on them in future vlogs. So here's a little bit of my story and some of the realisations I had along the way. Don't get me wrong, this wasn't a simple decision. I don't just prefer vegetables to the taste of meat. I love the taste of meat. I love as you bite through it. Cheeseburger was my favourite meal on any menu. I'd always get to try the cheeseburger at any new restaurant. I love lasagna, pulled pork sandwiches, fat chicken wings. Like the taste of that, the thought of that after any training was so appealing to me, and I thought this was the right thing to do and that it was beneficial to me at the same time. There's even a video of me on this channel plowing through 10 cheeseburgers from White Castle. Now, as much as I'd rather that to bananas any day, flavour-wise, it goes so much deeper than that, and there's many other reasons why I would never do that and why now I would much prefer to eat 10 bananas back to back. I remember one single day of my life before I made the decision to become vegetarian when I didn't eat meat. And to me that just showed me how much of an addiction it was without me even noticing. Once I realised what an addiction it was, and I've always said I'll try anything once, I thought, you know what, let me get on control of this, let me try just a few weeks without eating meat. And literally within a few days I started to notice great benefits to my health. Before that, I always thought I was quite a loving person, you know, I couldn't harm a spider. I would always pick up in a glass and place it outside safely. I couldn't harm a fly. If I trod on a snail, I'd feel so much guilt that I'd accidentally killed this snail. If I'd see people kicking pigeons or something, I'd always stop them and be like, what the hell are you doing? You know, that's crazy. But when it comes down to it, what's happening to the chickens? I'm eating these chickens daily and they're dying for me to have a meal and I'm not even aware of it. It's such an unconscious thing that there's a dead chicken for me to do this. And I'm standing on snails and feeling this guilt, yet I'm eating part of a cow like it's no problem, not even thinking about it. I realised what an unconscious thing it was for me to eat meat. I'd never had to kill an animal. If I had to kill an animal in order for me to eat my meal, I wouldn't do it. How many of us are emotionally ready to kill our own food before we eat it? And that's what it came down to for me. I'm not that guy, I'm not going to do that. So then I have no right to eat meat at the end of the day. You'd never eat a dog, even though pigs are just as intelligent as dogs. Pigs are actually as intelligent as 3-year-old children. And because people have pet dogs, and they give them a name and a backstory and they have a relationship with them, there's emotional attachment, then they build that caring. But just because a pig on a farm, you've got no emotional attachment, that's not a reason to not care about it. The same way, if kids are dying in Afghanistan, that bothers me, and that should bother you as well. Even though you don't know the kid, that's a problem that we should, you know, should try and deal with as a planet together. We should become civilized. And it's the same thing when it comes to animals. Is just because you know your dog and it's got a name and it does funny things, that you love it, right? And you cry if it died. But yet a pig on a farm, you've got no relation to it. I realise, no, I care for that. That pig doesn't have to die for me to have one meal. Now, those chickens don't have to be strangled or however they're killed for me to just sit home and enjoy one meal when I don't need to. I can be perfectly healthy without that happening. You know, then it's just on me. This was the biggest realisation I had. It was pleasure without conscience. I realised that my pleasure depended on another living being's reality being messed with. Its reality was ended for me to enjoy one meal. You know, if I truly love myself, my happiness does not depend on another living being's dying for me to enjoy one simple meal when I could be perfectly happy, perfectly healthy, not eating that meat. Another realisation I had was how egotistical it was for me to think I have any more right to be alive than an animal in a farm in a field. When, as Agent Smith said, the organism we're most comparable to on this planet is a virus, and it's very true. The amount of pollution that we cause, the destruction to natural habitats and rainforests, and slave labours. For me to sit unaware in my little bubble, happy, you know, not knowing what's going on, the damage that's going on to this planet, the least I can do, and the starting point for me was to just stop eating meat. People say, oh, but we're part of the food chain, you know, this right, we're at the top of the food chain, we get to eat what we want, this is what the animals are there for. But I don't get why there's so many happy, healthy vegetarians that don't need the meat to survive, you know. I don't think we're part of the food chain. We're too intelligent to be part of the food chain. We're long gone from the days when we needed to, you know, survival of the fittest and all that. We've taken over the planet, okay, so let's look after it. We're overseers. You know, we can look after the animals and we can live in harmony with all of them together. One of the first things we teach our children is about farm animals and the noises they make and what they look like. And yet the next step is we're feeding them chicken nuggets and they ask the parent, Mummy, what's in this chicken nugget? And then the parent's embarrassed to tell the kid that it's the cluck cluck chicken that they first taught them when they first learned to talk and make sounds. Like they're embarrassed, like they're guilty. Maybe there's a sign that from the kid that, you know, if you're guilty to tell the kid that what's actually in the chicken nugget, then maybe we shouldn't be eating the chicken nuggets in the first place. You know, the kid knows. If you give a child a chicken and an orange when they're in the crib, they're not going to try and break the chicken's neck and eat it. They're going to eat the orange and play with the chicken. At some stage we needed to eat the meat for survival. And I understand with Inuits, you know, they've got to eat the meat to get the energy to survive. That's fine. But as we live, you know, we're supposed to live within 1,000 miles of the equator. That's the way we evolved. There's so much fruit, and fruit is so much more appealing than a dead animal's carcass. Another thing I noticed was at the end of some TV programs and movies, it says no animals were harmed in the making of this, and you think, oh, well, that's good, but what did the cast and crew eat? You know, was the entire vegetarian cast and crew? I don't think so. A lot of people say to me, oh, I'd like to try that, but I just love meat too much. And I think, like, no shit. You know, that's like the alcoholic saying, oh, I'd like to try not drinking, but I love beer too much. For me, this makes it obvious it fundamentally comes down to addiction. You know, become aware of this. Be in control of your own destiny. Okay, I always say question everything. Okay, so why do we eat? Right, you could say pleasure. That's great, good answer, right? But that should be done secondary. The first, fundamentally, the reason we eat as human beings, not human doings, we eat as human beings is to get energy, life force from the sun. Right? That is why we eat, right? Pleasure is great, and it should be done secondary, and it should be done consciously to getting the energy from the food. So when eating, the best way to get energy is to eat as close to the source of energy as possible. Okay, so the source of energy is the sunlight, which goes into the plant, photosynthesizes, boom, beautiful looking piece of fruit, very appealing to a human being. Something about it that we just reflects with us, you know, we want to eat it, right? When you eat an animal, the animal is eaten whatever shit the farmer has decided to feed it, which you don't even know, all the genetic modified crap that is fed into the animal, right? Then it takes whatever nutrients it can kind of squeeze out of that, it uses for itself just to live, right? And then you eat the meat of that, which is the, like, secondary offshoot of shit food that's been fed to it by the farmer, which has probably hardly seen any sun and been fed proper water anyway, right? So it makes so much sense to just eat the plant, eat the fruit. You know, it's as close to life force as possible. If you want true energy, right, then eat that. It's karma free. Also, when you eat meat, sometimes it takes up 75% of your body's energy just to digest through it. That's why after a big Christmas dinner or a fat steak, you just want to sit down, lie down, curl up and rest. Because all your body's energy, good energy, is getting used up in your digestion system. Whereas when you eat plants and vegetables, it doesn't use too much energy and you have much more to expend throughout the rest of your day. The biggest point people seem to make about the thought of no meat in their diet is protein. They say, oh, where do you get your protein from? And then I realise, I think, you got me now, you know. Yeah, the truth is I've been wasting away, I'm skinnier than I've ever been, my recovery rate is shot, I'm weaker, I've got no muscles anymore. And hey, yo, man. Show them the situation. No, douchebag Tim, I'm not going to turn a perfectly good vlog into a strip show. Show them the protein situation. No, I'm not going to show them the protein situation. Alright, stop being such a pussy. If you don't show them the situation, I'm going to show them the situation. No, don't. Okay. I get it. Alright. Cool. Yeah? Where do I get my protein? Dunno. Protein situation. Where do I get my protein? I don't know, it's not me. Protein situation. Plants and vegetables. It's doing something, there's something there. Who knows about protein? Maybe it's a myth. In all seriousness though, protein is a very big question when it comes to vegetarian vegan diets, and I'm going to cover it in a lot more depth in a future vlog as it is such a big topic. What it truly comes down to, and when I say protein myth, I mean it's a misrepresentation from marketing companies trying to sell you stuff, big business, big meat business, big protein business, all these supplements and protein shakes. You don't need it. If you're getting enough calories, protein deficiency is not a worry for you. As a baby growing, a baby consumes 6% of its diet, of its calories, is consumed as protein, and that's when it's growing the most muscle. When it's the fastest growth rate as a human at any point, it's taking 6% of its calories from protein. As long as you're getting between 3 and 9% of your calories from protein, there's no worry of protein deficiency. And most fruits actually have 3 to 9% protein anyway. And then you look at vegetables like broccoli and spinach, which have 30-40% protein, there's not a problem. Don't just take my word for it. Honestly, this stuff was new to me. This shocked me when I first saw it. Like my whole life I've been taught about protein one certain way, and then I learned this and actually tried it for myself, experimented with it, and it worked. I feel a lot better. My recovery rate's actually improved from taking more of my calories from carbohydrates. That's what you need to replace. When you work out, you need to replace the carbohydrates, not the protein. Your body actually only burns 0.1 to 0.25% of its calories as protein. Most of its calories are burnt as carbohydrate. When I say you should eat loads of carbs, I don't just mean go and eat loads of bread. I mean as raw as possible, natural, unprocessed carbs from fruit, vegetables, rice and potatoes. In actual fact, eating too much protein does a lot more harm than it does good. One of the strongest proponents of a high protein, low carb diet was Dr. Atkins with the Atkins diet, who actually had a heart attack, ended up dying of kidney failure, and at the time he was technically obese. So I'm not just saying this, try it for yourself, look into it, do your research. 80-10-10 is one of the good starting points. Another point that seemed really obvious to me was, oh, you want to be as strong as an ox? Or what does an ox eat? An ox eats grass. What does a horse eat? What does a gorilla eat? You know, some of the strongest animals, rhinos, one of the tonkest animals there is vegetarian. You can get all the vitamins and minerals you need from plants, vegetables, fruits, nuts, seeds, etc. Some people like to make the point about blood type diets, and I used to think, oh, maybe there was some truth, maybe some blood types are more suited to certain types of foods, but what I realised it comes down to is some blood types are just better at getting goodness out of bad nutrition foods. Humans have 4 main blood groups, cats also have 3, horses actually have 10 different blood groups, and dogs have 13. But who goes to the vet and says, oh, what blood type's my dog so I can get the right food to feed him? No, you just feed all dogs the same thing. Look at the closest animal species to a human being, the chimpanzee. We share about 98% the same DNA, and yet 60 to 80% of their diet is fruit. How much percentage of our diet currently is fruit? If a chimp swings around a forest and it finds a banana tree, then it's going to eat a meal of bananas till it's full, or it finds a fig tree, then it'll eat a meal of figs. You know, we overcomplicate things. We make all these different fancy foods on a plate, and we think this is the right way to find a balanced diet, but life doesn't have to be complicated. It can be as simple as you make it. You know, since changing my diet and doing my research, I've increased my fruit intake by triple to quadruple the amount, and I'm continuously increasing that as well. Anytime I'm hungry, I just eat as much fruit as I want. I used to think, oh, but this fruit is bad, it's got a lot of sugar in, but when I looked into it and actually did my research and actually at the end of the day listened to how I felt having experimented and tried this diet, I have a lot more energy. I'm much closer to my optimal weight right now. Another point people make is, oh, but what about teeth? You know, this is meant for shredding meat. But what it comes down to is we're the only animal that actually cooks our meat in order to eat it. And if you don't cook it, we're running a lot more risks of disease and things like that, which our body can't deal with, our immune system can't deal with. Another realisation I had was, where do we get our meat from? We get it from a butcher who gets it from the slaughterhouse. And I thought, those words, slaughter and butcher, if they were in a sentence about a human, they'll be the most horrific, gruesome murderer on the planet, right? But when it's just to do with an animal, oh, we just accept it like it's nothing. But if that was your dog getting slaughtered or butchered, you'd freak out. Not to mention all the fear and adrenaline pumping through the animal as it's killed and it's on its last leg, just about to be murdered. All the negative energy running through it gets transferred across to you as you eat it. And I only really observed this once I stopped eating meat. And you look at people that eat the meat, the worst meat, the McDonald's meat, and their general attitudes towards life, and the vegetarians and their attitudes towards life. Sure, richer people might be eating nicer meat that's killed in a more humane way, and maybe that's why they're happier, they're eating their Wagyu beef. But at the end of the day, it's still eating a dead animal, and you are what you eat. And I don't want my body to be built on a graveyard of dead animals. I want it to be built on fresh fruit and vegetables, on living plants that don't run away from you when you try to cut it down, you know. Actually taking fruit from a tree makes it healthier, makes it grow more next time. But it's a cycle. Us and the plants, you eat the plant, you spit out the seeds, or you shit out the seeds, and then it's in a little pile of manure to grow a fresh plant. Right, it's the cycle of life. It works a lot better that way. Whereas you kill an animal, another one doesn't just pop up. It is not meant to work that way. A lot of people claim to believe in karma. I'm actually a very firm believer in that, and I claimed to be before I stopped eating meat. But until I actually stopped eating dead animals, I didn't quite grasp it, and I don't think you quite understand the level that it works at until you cut meat out of your diet. Especially when you're not an Eskimo, you're not living in a poverty-stricken village. You know, we can walk into any supermarket almost 24 hours a day and buy any piece of delicious, colourful, exotic fruit from any country in the world. I also realised that my decision to eat meat was not only a dietary one, it was also environmental and political as well. So I looked into a few of the environmental factors. For every pound of beef you don't eat, you save 3,000 to 5,000 gallons of water. That's as much water as if you didn't shower for 6 months. Every year, 1 acre of land is deforested to create land space for raising livestock per person. And to clear rainforests to produce beef for 1 hamburger produces 75 kilograms of carbon dioxide. Eating 1 pound of hamburger does the same damage as driving a car for 3 weeks. I'm not trying to tell you to give up meat completely, as much as I think it would benefit you and the rest of the world. I'm just trying to show you that just a small conscious dietary change could start a big change for the planet. Another benefit of being on a plant-based diet is it's very alkalizing. Cancers and other such diseases need an acidic environment to grow, whereas when you're on a plant-based diet, you alkalize your body, which makes it a lot harder for these diseases to stick around. There are countless cases where people have cured cancer from switching to a raw plant-based diet. The most acidic of the meats is the dark meat, such as the pork and the beef, whereas the chicken and the fish come slightly higher and closer to neutral on the pH scale, which is why I recommend this as a starting point to a lot of people, is to cut the red dark meats out of your diet, as from a health perspective they are the worst for you, whereas the white meats aren't quite as bad, but if you want to be karma free and feel the full health benefits of a vegetarian diet, they've all got to go. I also think that dietary change will play a huge part in the next step of human evolution. We've changed so much from cavemen up until this point and evolved so far, mentally, physically, everything, yet our diet hasn't changed to reflect that. If anything, our diet's gotten worse than when we were cavemen. Yet we've learned all this new knowledge that we don't need to eat meat to get all the nutrition that we need as human beings. Maybe when we apply this, we can evolve forward as a species. Some of the wisest, most influential minds from our human history were vegetarians, such as Plato, Pythagoras, Gandhi, Buddha, Da Vinci, Einstein. Not to mention some modern day influential celebrities that are actually vegan, such as Russell Brand, Brad Pitt, Travis Barker, Bill Clinton, Prince, Steve-O, James Cameron, Erykah Badu, Andre 3000, Russell Simmons, Venus and Serena Williams, Mike Tyson has even recently in the last few years become vegan, and look how much he's calmed down. Number one tip, as Gandhi said, be the change. People say, oh, but what difference am I going to make if I make this change? Worst attitude you can have. Believe in yourself. Be the change. Be strong. Stay true to yourself. Stay true to what you believe. Even if you think, what difference can you make? If you believe it, live it. As within, so without. You see it reflected on the world around you. And so that's why I stopped eating meat and became a vegan. I realised that if I truly love myself, my happiness does not require me to interfere with another being's reality just for the simple pleasures of feeding an addiction that was eating. Not to mention, since doing so, I've been happier and healthier than I've ever been. I'm karma free and I can eat as much as I want. So thanks for watching my story. If any of it resonated with you, please share it. You never know, you might find friends or family who feel the same way, and then you've got someone to support you as you go. And also share it to people who you don't think will agree. Never underestimate the power of planting the seed of thought into a fertile mind. I also want to give a shout out to some of the people that give me a lot of the information that I now know through YouTube videos, blogs, books, etc. Dr. Douglas Graham, Durian Rider, Raw Kristina, Adam Frewer, Seb Cam, VeganNinjaBunny. Links to all their channels in the description below. Alright, I'm going to go say thank you to the sun for this delicious apple.